Hussam Zomlot is Palestine's ambassador to the UK. He's an accomplished media performer and regularly appears in news studios whenever Israel-Palestine becomes an issue the British media wants to talk about. Speaking to Kirsty Walk on Newsnight, he opened up about how retaliation measures by Israel to the recent attack by Hamas had impacted members of his own family.
There's more than 800 dead in Gaza, including members of your own extended family. Do you know what happened to them?
They were just sitting at their home and they were simply bombarded. Their entire building was brought down. My cousin, Aya, her two children, her husband, her mother-in-law, and two other relatives died immediately, were killed instantly. And two of her youngest children, a twin, 2 years old, are now in intensive care. This is truly heartbreaking. And the issue here, Kirsty, is that they have no bunkers, they have no Iron Dome, they have nowhere to go. They are simply sitting ducks for the Israeli war machine.
I'm sorry for your own personal loss. I mean, can I just be clear, though? You cannot condone the killing of civilians in Israel, can you? Nor the kidnapping of families.
No, we don't condone. And we are very clear, Kirsty. We reject any targeting or harming of civilians from all sides. And you are talking to a Palestinian representative, official, the ambassador, that I represent my government, the PLO, the national movement of Palestine. And we have been committed to this for 30 years, not just today or yesterday. For 30 years, since the signing of the Oslo Accords, we have committed to non-violence. We have committed to negotiations, as you know.
Yes, and
so this is nothing new. That's why this question, we have done everything in our power to find a different path.
Just extraordinary. That was an extraordinary interview. You have a gentleman saying he's lost 6 members of his family. I think 2 other children have been hospitalized. And within seconds, Kirsty Walk is asking for him to condemn Hamas. Of course, he does that. He says the position of the people that he represents is not the same as that of Hamas. Again, to repeat, not all Palestinians are supporters of Hamas. Michael, it really makes you think, doesn't it? These people, often in the media, they don't seem to view Arabs, particularly Palestinians, as even human.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we should say solidarity to Hussam Zomlot for his loss. I've interviewed him before. We show clips of him a lot. Incredibly articulate person, incredibly articulate defender of Palestinian rights. When I first saw people on Twitter discussing this, my first thing was to think, well, he has had a loss, but he is also the Palestinian ambassador, right? So he is a political interviewee. Kirsty Walk, if she felt like she had to ask that at some point in the interview, she's not going to completely transform her interview because he's told her about a personal loss. But watching the clip, right, the fact that it was immediately afterwards, I'm so sorry for your loss. Oh, by the way, do you condemn Hamas? It was just not right. Right? I really do think that was appalling. And, we do have this issue when it comes to condemnation. So everyone is asked to condemn Hamas's war crimes, essentially. So deliberately targeting civilians, that's a war crime, right? But how often do you see an Israeli ambassador or anyone sort of speaking in defense of the Israeli side said, do you condemn the collective punishment of the people of Gaza, right? Do you condemn turning off the war to 2 million people as if they are all guilty of a brutal war crime committed by some people in a militia, right? And it is always put on the Palestinians. And yes, I think it's okay to ask a Palestinian ambassador that question, as I think it should be a moral obligation, to ask an Israeli ambassador about whether or not it is a war crime for them to be cutting off people's water, because the ambassador is actually connected to the government doing that. Hussam Zomlot's not actually connected to Hamas, who are committing these, because he is, as you say, the ambassador for the Palestinian Authority, a separate entity, or for the Palestinian Liberation Organization. But not only to ask the question, but to do it immediately after someone has told you about 6 of their family dying. There are follow-up questions you can ask to that. Oh God, you can say, oh, I'm so sorry to hear about that loss. This must be what lots of people in Palestine are worrying about at the moment. You can ask a question which is relevant to that story, right? That is the adult, human, compassionate thing to do. Now, was that a blip by Kirsty Walk? I don't know. Or was the root of that she sort of dehumanizes Palestinian interviewees? Maybe we will never know. But clearly something has gone wrong there.
I mean, for me, it just gets to the heart of actually how the media treats people from West Asia and Central Asia, Iranians, Afghans, Arabs. I mean, it seems quite obvious to me they just regard them as less human. Maybe I'm taking it personally because I've got Iranian heritage, but that's just how it seems to me. If somebody was saying, like say an Israeli ambassador or Israeli diplomat or just a media figurehead or politician said, I've just lost 6 relatives, I think any sensible person would say that's awful, that's a tragedy. No sensible person would immediately say, well, do you condemn the Netanyahu government or, like you say, collective punishment? I think the manner in which that was conducted, and as you've highlighted there, Michael, the fact that it wouldn't be asked to the other side is really key. And this is not whataboutery. It gets to the heart of the problem here, which is that we repeatedly humanize just one side. And that does not help. It doesn't help foreign policy, doesn't help the situation. Certainly doesn't help journalists in getting the accuracy of the facts conveyed to the wider public.